Netgear EAX12 Wi-Fi Range Extender Review. The EAX12 is a distinctive EAX1600 double-frequency, 4-stream Wi-Fi 6 booster. Common low-end Wi-Fi 6 items we've observed are EAX1800 with a maximum link speed of 600 megabits per second over the 2.4 GHz band and 1200 megabits per second on the 5 GHz band. The TP-Link RE505X was an EAX1500 device with 300 megabits per second and 1200 megabits per second speeds. The Netgear EAX12 is somewhere in between that with 400 megabits per second over the 2.4 GHz and 1200 megabits per second on the quicker and less congested frequency band. The EAX12's advantage means it works well with the EAX1800 and faster routers and can be part of a mesh network when connected to Netgear EAX series Wi-Fi 6 routers. It is also compatible with equipment from other brands when used as an extender. This sleek device connects directly to a wall outlet and has 2 internal antennas, 4 LED indicators, and 1 gigabit Ethernet port. It is much slimmer than Devolo's Powerline models and more subtle than the RE505X with its 2 oversized antennas on both sides. To set up, just plug the EAX12 into the socket, connect your smartphone to the extender's internal Wi-Fi network and run Netgear's Nighthawk Wi-Fi app. Follow the instructions in the app to select your router's SSID and enter passwords for both the 2.4 GHz and 5 GHz bands. The extender will then be set up on your network and attempt to give you the best connection possible. If you'd like, you can create different SSIDs and passwords, but most users simply want everything to be on the same network sharing the same credentials. The program didn't work optimally due to it not accepting my WPA2 password for my router. Yet, while the browser-based administrative panel on the extender did accept it, we were able to get the EAX12 up and running without needing to change my password. Although this difficulty doesn't appear to be a widespread problem, it had me feeling exasperated as we tackled it. After efficiently connecting the EAX12, you can experiment with its positioning by utilizing the router link and client link LEDs. If the extender has an ideal connection, this will shine green, suggesting an acceptable connection if amber, and a bad connection if it glows red. The Nighthawk app also offers functions for assessing the current status, viewing what devices are connected to which band with their respective MAC addresses and IP links along with the present link rate that is available right away. However, putting it in place and allowing it to be productive is generally sufficient most of the time. The usefulness of a range extender can be determined by its ability to bring Wi-Fi to areas that are out of reach for your router, and in this respect, the EAX12 performs fairly well. To test this effectiveness, we used my usual setup comprising of an Orbi Wi-Fi 6 EAX1800 mesh system with a NOS connected to the router. When situated in the kitchen diner at the opposite end of our 1950s detached house, transfer speeds hit 16.23 megabits per second download and 12.97 megabits per second upload. When operating on its own without the EAX12, those speeds dropped to 8.08 megabits per second and 7.35 megabits per second. However, when using the EAX12 they increased to 22.04 megabits per second and 16.16 megabits per second, rendering even better results than the Orbi system. Upstairs, the Orbi Wi-Fi 6 delivered quicker connection speeds of 32.17 megabits per second and 21.29 megabits per second compared to the router unit on its own with 25.75 megabits per second and 16 megabits per second. With the EAX12, speeds increased to 21.47 megabits per second and 7.54 megabits per second, not as fast as the Orbi, but still decent. To test the extender, we also attached it to a second router, a Netgear EAX50 with EAX5400 speeds. As a result, the speeds in my office increased to 27.33 megabits per second and 15.15 megabits per second. The only issue? When the router was being used by itself, the speeds were 32.63 megabits per second and 26.73 megabits per second, which invalidated the use of an extender altogether. Additionally, the combination we tested didn't come close to the performance of pairing TP-Link's RE505X with their EAX90 router. The latter gave me speeds of 36.46 megabits per second and 12.93 megabits per second in the kitchen diner, 50.67 megabits per second, and 31.65 megabits per second in the office. It is possible that a quality Wi-Fi 6 router can provide even faster speeds than a Wi-Fi 6 range extender. Additionally, a good mesh system consistently produces better coverage compared to any other device. When you need to extend Wi-Fi to a hard-to-reach area, the extender is your best choice. Of these two options, the Netgear EAX12 is a good pick, but it would be even better to go for the TP-Link RE505X because of its superior performance and lower price.